I want to talk to you about my friend Charlie Crawford. He's a 10-time NFR qualifier.
Charlie Crawford, time to just shake it out and win. Got it on him fast. Set
there
up.
We are.
Here's a dead
Nice
money
run.
lead. You betcha 3-8.
That's an absolute perfect run. Timing was perfect from the time the first swing is up. He's got the control. Charlie made it happen by being timed up with his horse with the steer, and being able to not just rope, but to pick that steer's head up without changing the momentum for the heeler at all.
We know his beautiful wife, Jackie, all three of their beautiful children, the founder of the Liberty and Loyalty Foundation, which this year will exceed $1 million raised for military and first responders. I've said it 1,000 times. Charlie, it's time to rope, nod and ride, whip and spur. I want to welcome you to the Charlie Crawford Podcast. Let's ride.
How to overcome a roping slump. Man, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? You know, I've watched football teams that dominate all season long and start hitting a slump at the wrong time right before they get to the playoffs and then get beat. You know, sometimes momentum can be a cruel mistress. It can turn on a dime at just the slightest mistake. And then I've seen teams that struggle throughout the year, and then all of a sudden right there toward the end of the year start getting some confidence and getting things figured out, and then they might roll all the way through it, and I've even seen them possibly win the Super Bowl. And so there's a lot to that. I think, in my mind, the mental and technique is what usually creates slumps. And so there's a lot of things mentally that can happen. You know, you can get nervous, especially people that I've seen that, you know, are just getting started. I believe nerves can play a part. I believe anxiety. To me, I think breathing, learning to breathe correctly before you compete. You know, I think sometimes we can almost get out of breath and be focusing so much on the outcome that the nerves will sometimes overtake your body. You need to focus on things you can control. You need to get your mind right there. Your mind is dominating your body and is creating, your conscience is questioning your subconscious, and things are tightening up. That's when a lot of people call it freezing up because your body ain't moving as fluidly, or they call it choking because you're not breathing as well. Deep breath in and out, and then visualize on the things you can control, the good runs you're wanting to make, especially if you're high call. You know, focusing on the runs that you're wanting to make and really meditate on those, and then just trust it and go in the box and go do the best you can. But if you're focusing too much on the outcome, that can create even more anxiety. Blanking out, or just like, you know, nodding and you don't remember what happened. Just everything went blurry. That's very common as well to me when you've gone too fast. I've gone through those phases to where I was trying to go too fast, too much, and making a lot of mistakes and just getting in a speed jam. Slow down. Go back to the basics. Go back to the fundamentals. One of the key reasons I have slower cattle. That way you can slow back down, go over your techniques. You can kind of fill in the middle, go a little bit faster, then a little bit faster, then full contact, and then back it back down again and kind of keep going through those processes. That'll help a little bit with the blank out phase, because there's a reason why even playing football and basketball, a lot of times after a game, you'll come back on Monday and practice will be pretty slow. You're slowing down everything. You're going back over the fundamentals, and then you're picking it up throughout the week and speeding it up to where then that way you're peaked out right before a competition. So a lot of times blanking out can be, to me, going too fast too often. Overthinking, that's a big one. A lot of people say, oh, you're overthinking. Oh, just go do you. Well, to me, there's a strategy to that. I think that there's times where that is applicable. But I think there's also at times too where sometimes when you're overthinking, your mind's naturally trying to come up with a solution. So to me, when I'm overthinking, that means there's a question mark. So I'm trying to find the answer to it. It's kind of like riding a bike. When the chain falls off the pedals, you can just be sitting there just pedaling your butt off, but you're not going nowhere. What you're trying to find is you're trying to find an answer to the problem. So in that situation, once you put the chain back on the tracks, now when you pedal, you've actually got traction, you can get somewhere. Same thing with your roping. You're missing because there's a solution there that you're not finding the answer to, so your mind is racing trying to find that answer. So a lot of times you'll end up finding out more about your roping through failure. You know, when you find the answer to that solution, your roping just got better. So not all slumps are bad. That's where a lot of the learning comes. When you're missing and you figure out how to catch in that situation, you just gained a lot of knowledge. So then that way on the next one, if it happens again, you know how to fix it. So that's a pretty good advantage to have once you get through the miss on that side of it. Not focusing. I watch a lot of young kids just kind of rope and just kind of go through the motions. A lot of guys just rope for fun. They just kind of rope and just kind of however it goes. That's great if it's just an outlet. But if you're trying to compete, you're going to need some focus. You need to make sure that your horse is scoring good. You need to know where your position is. You need to know where your swing's going before you pull the trigger and deliver. You need to know when you dally how to get that steer shaped up in the corner, where to log in as you're pulling that steer across the pin at a certain angle, how to face and be able to keep that steer's head tight through the face where your heeler isn't slipping legs. There needs to be some focus so you understand what you're doing. Otherwise, it's just kind of the definition of insanity. Just keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting winning results. You can't just keep doing the same thing expecting different results. You just keep doing the same thing's going to keep happening. And so a lot of times to me that's not enough focus. They have what they call, with winning in mind, the preload, where you're preloading that run in your mind before you rope. When and where you're getting your rope started, what the start is, what you're going to see on that steer, when and where to get your rope started up at, where you want to go when you get to the front of the box. What width and position do you want to get on that steer? What kind of loop are you wanting to throw? How you want to frame that steer up in the corner? How you want to log them as you're going to perfect degrees going across the pin as you're bringing them back up the pin and face from the tightrope. You're visualizing those runs. That develops muscle memory. And so the more you focus on those runs, that you'll start developing a better outcome. Focusing on the outcome. Now that's one I've struggled with. Wanting to win first or wanting to play. So everything's about outcome. Then you're roping you're almost putting pressure on yourself. You're making runs that aren't shaped up to maybe according to what the steer is. You're wanting to be 4 flat on a 5 flat steer. Or maybe you're wanting to be 10 seconds on a 12-second steer, because you missed the start. So if it's all outcome, then you're not actually preparing yourself on what the situation is. Same thing with maybe you're trying to be in 8 seconds on a 10-second steer. Like that steer runs hard and your horse has run enough, and you can only rope in position. Well, that steer is just basically dictating a lot of what your time is. And so some of those times you have to be okay with the fact that maybe your draw didn't give you the outcome that you desired. And so trusting the process, learning how to go make your run and develop your run, and then trying to duplicate your run when it gets to competition. So if you draw 4 good steers and you're prepared well enough, you're probably going to win it, or dang sure probably place. Now, say you drew 1 good one and the rest were all runners, good chance you might place if you go make your run. But if you get there and all of a sudden one of these little Thundercats come out there and throws a 5 or 6 second run on you during the competition, and you make 7 or 8 second runs and you try to get out of your game, then they got you. So you got to stick with what your run is and not focus so much on the outcome, and trusting your training.